Hello, it's great to be here. Hello, everyone. So, I'm guessing that you're something like me. And oops, let me go backwards. Just getting a feel for there we go. So, gamification is exciting to all of us because it promises us that we can deliver game like engagement. This is what most people want. But it turns out that in practice, and I bet some of you have discovered this, what people want is they want a silver bullet. They say, give it to me fast. I don't have time for research or design. Just throw that gamification in. Let's get it going. Well, occasionally that works, but mostly that approach backfires because what happens is the same thing that happens in this startup story. So I work with startups all over the world. It's a great opportunity. And today I want to tell you a story about a brilliant founder who emigrated from Russia to the US, put together a team, and had a really hot idea. They wanted to build an always on AI friend that you could talk to anytime, that would be there in your pocket. They had great tech. They raised $12 million, had millions of downloads in their first few weeks, great PR. Everything looked on track. But then fast forward to 7 months later, and they were facing low retention and a real lack of clarity about who they served. The mental model was opaque, meaning they were so excited about the tech and so were their investors that they thought it can be for everybody. So they tried to bring in different people and just let them mold this into what they wanted it to be, which worked at first, but then backfired. There was no coherence about who are we serving. And you can't develop deep engagement unless you have that. Like Mike Tyson, the American boxer, says, everybody has a plan till they get punched in the face. So this team was struggling with something most of us struggle with. It's very difficult to drive sustained retention. It's almost impossible. It's one of the hardest things to do in tech. It takes time and dollars and energy to acquire customers. It was not free, all that PR and all that buildup that the Replika team did. But if you don't hold on to those customers, it all goes to waste. Nobody sets out to build a leaky bucket, but it happens all the time, far too often. I bet maybe you've had that experience too. If you have, tell me in the comments, have you ever inadvertently built a leaky bucket? I sure have. And many of my clients have done it. So the Replika team did it and they were very frustrated. One of the things they tried was adding points and badges. They thought, oh, that should work. That should pump engagement. But it turned out that that didn't drive their long-term retention, even though it boosted their short-term stats. And even worse, it made it even harder for them to figure out who they were truly serving. So what happened to Replika is something that happens every day on the web. Why do external rewards backfire? Why is this promising approach to driving engagement so difficult to pull off correctly? Well, I'm going to tell you more about that in a moment. But the main thing to understand is that when used incorrectly, which is most of the time, external rewards actually interrupt intrinsic motivation. They get in the way. There's a great book called Drive by Dan Pink that lays out all the science behind that. So, how do we build sustainable habits? What is that silver bullet of engagement that we're all searching for? Well, it turns out it's not just one simple thing. It never is. But if you harness the power of self-determination theory, which is shown here, that is the essence of internal motivation. And if you start there and then support what you're doing with mechanics, that's the winning formula. We're going to talk a lot about mastery, which is one of the three elements of self-determination theory. I want you to ask yourself, before you gamify anything, before you hit your app with mechanics, ask yourself, what is it my customers truly want to get better at? That is the silver bullet. Now, it's not that easy to pull off, but if you think that way and you build around that, you will build long-term engagement. So I want to tell you how we did that, working on the diverse set of innovative hits that I've had the experience on eBay. Customers want to get better at trust. They want to get better at finding trusted buyers and sellers. Now, that's very different than Ultima Online, an MMO I worked on. There, what people really want to get better at is living a rich fantasy life. Now, in The Sims, people want to get better at playing around with and making scenarios with this family simulator toy. And that is a lot of what made The Sims so incredibly successful. Different from Rock Band, where people want to get better at playing songs they love with their friends and feeling like they're making the music. If we couldn't deliver that, nothing else mattered. On the Netflix project, ultimately, people want to get better at finding something to watch, getting better and better recommendations from the system. For Happify, the mental health app, people want to get better at taking control of their mood, at getting better at feeling better. And for Tonal, the hit pandemic workout, people want to get better at sticking with their workout. We tested it. We thought people wanted to get more buff. Actually, they want to get better at sticking with a workout. That was the most important thing. And on Covet Fashion, the hit fashion game that created a whole new genre, people want to get better at creating and judging high fashion outfits. Each of these hits help customers get better at something that matters. They were all different, but if you ground yourself in that thinking, you can pull this off too. Here's how Replika did it. How did they solve their engagement problem? Well, the first thing we did was we used 3 design hacks. We identified and interviewed our hot core superfans, not everybody, the people that we most wanted to serve. We used insights from talking to those people and focusing on them to simplify and clarify the mental model, not try to be everything for everyone. And then using that new model, we were able to design engaging activities and a path toward mastery, not just something to play around with. Now, what this let us do was not just imagine what people wanted, but know what they wanted, because we were using motivations, behaviors, and habits from our superfans. We use those to develop the mental model and path to progress. We didn't just make it up. And that led Replika from being struggling with retention to being a hit and being the mental health app that people would turn to when it was 1 a.m. and they needed someone to talk to. So ask yourself, what is the number one gamification mistake that even smart entrepreneurs make, that Replika made, that I've made, that probably you've made? Well, I ran a poll on Twitter, and all of these are the case, but adding points without real meaning is by far the most common thing. It's so easy to do. But if you want to drive long-term engagement, this is not going to get you there. When used the wrong way, these external rewards kill your retention. They kill long-term retention, even when, or especially when, they prop up your short-term stats, as Replika found. Now, if you read the book Drive, you'll get into the details of why and how this happens. So if you look through this list of how external rewards kill motivation, you can probably relate to some of these elements. And again, it's not that you never want to use rewards or gamification. It's that using them when you're not supporting a powerful journey doesn't get you where you need to go. So these 3 design hacks will get you where you need to go. If you're looking for a silver bullet, this is the closest you're going to get. Start with your superfans. Don't try and be everything for everybody. Even if you have a product in the market, you can still slice off your most avid, high need customers. And if you design for them, you'll get much further than trying to design for everybody, because thriving in the market is as much about who you ignore as it is about who you listen to. There are 3 traits you want to look for in your superfans. The first is they really truly have the problem that you solve. For instance, it's 1 a.m., I'm anxious, I'm spiraling, who can I talk to? That's a real problem. And that's a problem that we could solve with Replika. They know they have the problem. It's top of mind. Superfans don't need convincing. They have an urgent need. So for instance, someone who says to you, I've been looking for an app to help me feel better. They know they have the problem. They're showing you through their solution-seeking behavior. And third and most important, they're actively trying to solve the problem. For instance, if you find someone who says, I've been looking at AI-based mental health apps, trying out a few, and they got boring, but this one might work. That's someone who's really trying to solve the problem. Design hack number 2 is to habit stack your core activity. What does that mean? Well, habit stacking is an existing activity that you can build a new habit on top of. That's what habit stacking is. So for instance, and that existing habit is called the anchor habit. So for instance, brushing your teeth is the anchor habit. Flossing is a habit stack. If walking the dog is an anchor habit, listening to podcasts might be a habit stack. If commuting to work is a regular habit, you might habit stack learning a language with Duolingo. Many people do. If you work at home and sitting down to work in front of your computer in the morning is a habit, you might habit stack checking your Slack messages at that time. And smart product leaders and game designers know if you want to design something that your most avid customers can get better at that will help them, designing around their existing habits is the smartest way to go. And that's what we did at Replika that turned things around. We knew that people wanted to get better at managing their mood and anxiety from talking to superfans. The habit is 1 a.m., I can't sleep, who can I talk to? Replika. We filled that beautifully, and all the success came from there. So the third the third design hack is to craft a journey. It doesn't have to be complicated, but it's some sense of forward progression, not just here's everything, go for it. Every journey starts with a human, somebody who wants to get better at something. Humans care about making progress on issues and activities that they care about. People don't care about meaningless progress. They care about real progress. And personal transformation is ultimately this journey toward mastery. A simple example is karate. But you can take the insights from there and deliver them to your customers. And remember, all transformation starts with struggle. Somebody who's fine with what they got is not your hot core customer. Your hot core customer is struggling with something. And there's a moment in their lives where there's a circumstance that they've had enough and they're finally ready to try something different. And the hope that things can get better is what propels them to try your solution, to try your game, your service, whatever. That you want to look for that struggling moment when you're seeking superfans, like we did with Replika. How did we design for their struggling moments? Well, we used job stories, something we teach in game thinking, and it's written up in my book. And perhaps you're familiar too with jobs to be done. The trigger is I feel anxious. I need to talk to somebody. We totally designed for that trigger, not for people that were just curious. What's the goal-based activity we could provide? Well, that person wants to chat with someone who gets them, can help them feel better. If it's 1 a.m., your friends might not be available, but Replika is. And then the desired outcome. What do they want? Well, they want to get things off their chest, feel calmer, feel more stable. It's a journey from anxiety to calm. That's what they're seeking. And understanding that journey is key for designing long-term retention. So the updated model is an understanding friend who gets to know you. And then here comes the journey. Doesn't just listen, nudges you gently toward healthier activities and thoughts. That was the winning combination for Replika. Nothing complicated, just exactly the right thing to help people get better at feeling better. So remember, these 3 design hacks can help you find the silver bullet for engagement. Start with your superfans. Figure out a narrow niche of high need customers and design for them, not for the everybody's. Whether you're going to launch or you're already launched, it's still relevant. Leverage habit stacking. Build that product or shift it around some existing habit they have. It makes things much easier. And then once you've got that in place, create a compelling journey that helps people get better at something that they care about. If you want to dig deeper and apply these ideas, you can pick up my game thinking book, which is a handbook for driving long-term retention. You can also get some immediate gratification. If you go to gamethinking.io/quiz, you can get a free customized cheat sheet that's dialed into what you need to find success. Thank you so much for being here and listening. I hope this inspired you. I'd love to hear your ideas and any questions you have. So thank you so much. And for more info, go to gamethinking.io.
Thank you. There were so many people in the chat that were like cheering. This is the best talk I've seen for gamification. Well, thank you for being there for the Gamescom Congress. And yeah, thank you a lot. We need to make a short break now, because coming up next is a huge panel, and we need to prepare that. But thank you, and I hope to see you somewhere soon, maybe in person, on the next Gamescom Congress next year.